Welcome to my Lasso podcast. Let's get into it. Today is Thursday. Oh man, we have an interesting episode for you guys today. And you guys know what today is. It is a Court of Thorns and Roses day. We have chapters 29 and 30 on deck. We are flying through this book. My goodness, and it's getting juicy. I can't wait to find out what happens next with our lovely couple, if you will, Tamlin and Feyre. You know what I mean? Because they fucked. And I'm wondering who this Amaranthia person is and all of what's going on. It's getting pretty good, but you know what we do? Before we get into the book, we always have a thread. Today's thread is a bit of an interesting one. It's what's the biggest secret you've been hiding from your partner? So let's see what secrets you guys have been hiding from your partner. Hopefully they're pretty wholesome. We'll see. My husband can't whistle. He always tries, but he just can't. One day while hiking with our dogs, the dogs went too far, and so my husband tried to whistle for them. The first few attempts, nothing happened, so I whistled for them. Apparently my husband was trying to whistle at the same time, and he heard my whistle and just thought it was him. He was so proud, just grinning from ear to ear. I didn't have the heart to tell him it was me. Still don't. It was cute to see how happy it was. Damn. Hey, wholesome moment. I'm so glad that you didn't kill my man's thunder, you know, because that would have sucked. That would have broken my man's heart, you know. All right. Probably how many snacks I really sneak at midnight. Girl. Girl, we supposed to be on a diet together. What are you doing? All right. I've always known he takes Viagra. I think he'd say his biggest secret is that he takes Viagra. I mean, it's supposed to be what is your biggest secret, not his. Damn, like putting my man's ED on fucking blast. Like, yeah, my husband has limp penis, but you know, it is what it is. Like, god damn. You ain't got to do my boy like that. As someone who absolutely hated dancing and have always declined invitations to go dancing, I've learned the basic steps of bachata, or whatever that is, which is her favorite dance. Not sure how long I'll keep it a secret. I'm just waiting for the right moment to reveal my moves. Oh, that's what I'm talking about, baby. Yeah, I would do that too. If my lady, she liked, you know, dancing and doing all that kind of stuff, I would secretly learn it. And that way, you know, when the time is right, say our song is on or something, I'm going to be like, bam, ba-dun, dun, bam, bam, ba-dun. She'd be like, oh my God, your hips do not lie. And I'm going to be like, damn right, baby. You know, it's what you got to do. I beat my wife in every video game. I purposefully lose at Pyo Tetris because she likes it, and it's the only way for me to enjoy her company while playing. He said every game I'll whoop that ass, but you know, in the ping pong game or the little Tetris, I'll let her win. It's okay, she can have that game, but everything else I'm whooping that ass. Like, damn. I think that is such a good thing. I think a lot of more girls should like actually play video games with their guy, even if they have no interest in it, even if you suck at it, even if you're just not good at it. I think it, like, now if your man plays competitively, okay, get the fuck out the room. Let's be real. Like, if he plays competitively, get the fuck out the room and leave that man alone. But if he's a casual guy, you know, he works his job, comes home and likes to play his video game, like, you should play with him. You know what I mean? And like, you should be involved with it. I kind of hate when girls are just like, oh, it's so unattractive when a guy plays video games. And it's just like, dude, this is how I come home and relax. This is how I come home and unwind. All the bullshit that's happened out in the day, like, I just want to turn my brain off, you know what I mean? And be mad at something else. Because a lot of times what it is like, us as dudes, everything out in the world that makes us mad, we can't do anything to change that. At least the game we can have some control over. You know what I mean? We get mad at the game, yeah, but at least we have control over it. You know, if it's pissing us off, fuck it. I can go play a different game, or fuck it, I could get better, or I could do something else. But like, when your boss is, you know, hounding down on you, or when like your car breaks down, or this or that, or whatever happens out in the world, you can't change that. You have no control over that. At least with a game, I have some fucking control over it. You know what I mean? And I can at least have some aspect of power. You know what I mean? Like, it's a big thing for a guy to be able to come home and at least, you know, unwind however he chooses to unwind. And I think, like, as his girl, you should just be there with him. You know, like, I think that's something girls should do more often. I don't know. That's just me. I'm going to stop rambling, though. All right, back to the thread. What's the biggest secret you've been hiding from your partner? We both recently got into Magic the Gathering. For me, it was a return after 25 years of not playing. She was like, "Oh, you brought me out of retirement." And she was new. We both were. Oh, I guess he was. All right, this is a dude. Okay, I thought this was the girl. All right. We both were looking for a hobby to enjoy together to help us get our minds off the devastating 2 years we had just fought through. It was 2 years of cancer diagnosis, heartbreaking surgeries, doctor visits, losing her 2 dogs. They were her children, all, and while trying to finish the last year of her PhD in cancer research of all things. Anyhow, the cataloging, sorting, playing, trading, and collecting seemed to put her in a quiet place where she could turn off her thoughts and to something else and just heal. She even played in her first tournament at GenCon. She jumped in with both feet and opened booster packs, and finding cards with value seemed to light her up in a way I hadn't seen since we started down our war on cancer. The problem is she never seemed to have the luck I did with finding chase rares, and with the latest set being totally her jam, small cute animals, she wants them all. She's like, I don't care if they're not good cards, they just look cute, and that's all I want. I just want all the cute monsters. It's like playing Pokemon, and you're just like, no, I don't want that strong monster because it looks ugly. It's kind of adorable, I ain't gonna lie to you. So I ordered a bundle of collector boosters and the very expensive raised foil rabbit card she was looking for. Cut open a booster, slid it in, and resealed it well enough so she couldn't notice. Seeing her open that pack, hearing her voice shake in concert with her hands, and watching that fleet panic that she damaged the card transitioning to pure joy was incredible. I feel twinge guilty about it, but I'll take the secret with me to my grave. She thinks that she got super lucky with finding an incredibly rare card. It's a small thing, but it meant the world to her, man. That can bring a tear to a grown man's eye. God damn. Oh, that is wholesome as shit. If I'm being honest with you, brother. That is wholesome as hell. He had the rare bunny card and was just like, I got you, girl. Don't worry about it. Sealed it up and she was like, oh my God. That's so nice. That is wholesome as hell, man. All right. When he proposed to me, I have an engagement. Watch for him. Oh, really? My dad gave it to me a few months into dating him and said that I could do what I want with it. It's been 5 years and all I need is a nice box and ribbon. Oh, that's a pretty nice thing. Because, like, women always want guys to wear, like, engagement rings or whatever, but I don't know. To me, it's always never made sense for a guy to wear an engagement ring because that's obviously like a thing for, you know, the woman. But like an engagement watch, now that's kind of cool. I ain't gonna lie to you. That's kind of cool. And then it's even better because it's like a family heirloom kind of thing. I think that's a cool idea, if I'm being honest with you. idea. I have a box of little crochet critters in the garage that I made when I'm bored / in between clients. I let my fiance know that if anyone at work would like one, she's a hospice nurse, she can ask them from Okay. Oh, no, she could just take them from the box. No questions asked. That's what I told her anyway. The secret is that I purposefully made stuff for her to take. I even have a little spreadsheet so I know what animals / colors are the most popular and make sure that there's always spares. Obviously, I don't know who they go to because of confidentiality, but I try to get as big a range as I can. That's kind of cool. That's super cool. Making like little crochet little things. Like, that's kind of cool. All right. It's not really a secret anymore because I cracked up the last time I saw him do it. But when he used to make me Impossible burgers, he would use a meat thermometer to make sure that it was safe to eat like a normal burger. It was so sweet that I didn't want to tell him I could possibly eat them raw if I wanted. They were like chewing a brick. I love that man. My man was overcooking these plant-based burgers. Oh my God. See, where are those women at, man? You know what I mean? Like, what the heck? She out here eating bricks for this man. You know, like, where are those women at? You know, God damn. And if you're one of those women, golly, you're a good one. She said, you know what? It's all good. I'm going to let him do his thing. He's making sure that it's safe for me. That's so fucking funny. And she got that burger and was just like, okay. That is funny as hell. She was like, that motherfucker was like eating a brick. Oh, shit. We've been together for 5 years, met at a football game. Our biggest thing in common is our love for our team. Every Sunday for years, we get together to watch the games with her family. I'm not really into football. I was at the game we met at because someone bought tickets and I was off, so sure. I've never really understood it for years. Anytime the family cheers, I just follow with the cheers, and when they boo, I do the same. Hey, man. It'd be like that. It's weird how it's so backwards. Like, the girl is into sports and the dude is like, I don't know what the fuck is all this about. But if I'm being honest with you, that's the same thing with the video game thing. You know, it's just like, just being a part of it. You know what I mean? Just be a part of it. Just enjoy it. Have fun with it, you know? All right. I don't think his youngest son is his. Oh. The story about how his child came to be is very shady, between having his vasectomy reversal and how low he said his count is, combined with the fact that he caught the boy's mom cheating during the time they were trying, and how fast she came back with the paternity result. It all feels very wrong. 13 years later, when we were talking about his youngest, he always brings up how similar they look. I just agree. This kid looks nothing like him or his other two kids. My boyfriend is 5'7", blue eyes, black hair, with a lean build. His youngest is already over 6 feet tall with brown eyes, brown hair, and kind of chunky. His mom is very slim, blue eyes and blonde hair. He wanted to get them all 23 and me for Christmas. I talked him out of it. I think it would ruin Christmas for him if it came out. Whoa. Yo, that's a little crazy. It makes sense, though. Like, I mean, you know, if you can't really have kids like that, and you had a vasectomy, a reversal, you know, just because you had a reversal, it don't mean you can have kids, you know, effectively anyway. Like, oh shit. And then the fact that homeboy looks nothing like him. He's tall as hell. Like, I don't know where the hell you got that height from, boy. Like, you know, like, shit. Oof. I mean, hey, I look at it like this, you know, what he doesn't know doesn't hurt him, and just, you know, keep moving on with life and let it be what it gonna be. You know what I mean? Because if I'm being honest with you, sometimes people look for answers that when they find out, it was better off that they didn't ask at all, if I'm being honest with you. And I think that's the tale of this story right here, is like, I don't think you want to know the answers to that. So just leave it alone. Ooh, what's the biggest secret you've been hiding from your partner? That I don't really like his family. I'm kind of scared of them. Whoa. I mean, I wish she put more detail into like why she's scared of them, but that would be crazy to date somebody who doesn't like your family. Oh, see, like me, I'm extremely close with my mom, and I'm like, and my mom can get along with anybody. So it's like, if my significant other can't get along with my mom, oh, then you're not the girl for me. You know what I mean? Like, you're a walking red flag. And I'm like, no, thank you. Yeah, because, bruh, that's crazy. And I would hate to be in a situation where, like, my girl doesn't like my family because, what if we're getting together for a family get together, or, our wedding day? I don't know. Like, you never know the situations you're going to be in. What if we go on like a family vacation trip and I want to invite her and she's just like, oh, now I got to spend, a whole week, traveling somewhere with some people I don't even like. That would suck. That would kill the mood, everything, dude. Oh, man. That's tough. I want to marry him much sooner than I thought. Oh, I'm sorry. What's the biggest secret that you've been hiding from your partner? That I want to marry him much sooner than I thought, but also as an immigrant, I worry if I bring that up, it will raise any eyebrows and cause him and his family and friends to think that I want to do this to get permanent residency quick. So I've been working extra hard to qualify for it on my own. Ooh. And, it sucks because it's like, she could truly love this guy to the ends of earth, but then people are going to still be like, oh, nah, dog, I wouldn't marry her right now. Oh, no, it's too soon, this and that. Like, she's just trying to get her green card. She's just trying to get over here, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Like, she going to put up with you for 2 years, and then she's going to be like, sweet, I can leave now and maintain my citizenship. It's, woo, brother. Oh, man, but it sucks when, like, you actually genuinely love the person and you genuinely care about them, and everybody is just like, nah, man, you just trying to get that green card, girl. What you doing? And it's just like, it's not that, but hey, I do like that she has the attitude of, I'm going to just qualify for it on my own. I'm going to show everybody through my actions that, hey, I truly do love him, and I do want him to marry me, you know what I mean? And I want him to marry me for good reasons, not just for permanent residency, So I'm glad that she has that outlook on it. All right, what's the biggest secret you've been hiding from your partner? She farts in her sleep loud. Yo! Oh, shit, my man's be like, God damn it, girl. I bet you he hates when she's the little spoon. She be farting on his dick all night. Oh my God. She be farting on that man's dick all night, bro. God damn. All right, what's the biggest secret you've been hiding from your partner? If I'm stuck on a game, she will casually suggest things that I could try I could try without telling me the answer. She would go very quiet and go on her phone and then say, I wonder, does this game have any buffs to your lightning damage? Or, oh, a dragon. He looks like he wouldn't like ice damage very much. I know she is Googling things, but I pretend like I don't because she gets so excited when her hints work and she thinks that she helped me work it organically. Oh, see, man, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about right there. When a dude, is just at home, he's doing whatever he likes to do to relax, and you're just being a part of it. That is wholesome as shit, man. I love that. All right, what's the biggest thing you've been hiding from your partner? That I've turned a closet into a hallway, into our closet hallway, into a shoe closet because she has wanted one for a very long time. When she comes back home in a couple of days, I hope she loves it. That's dope. That is dope. Giving her a whole hallway shoe closet kind of thing and making it a surprise. That's kind of cool. All right. I'm going to do 2 more. When she watches those dumb Hallmark movies that I hate, I sometimes pretend that I'm engrossed in whatever game I'm playing or whatever task I'm doing, but I'm actually caught up in what's going on in the stupid movie. And let me be clear, they're stupid and boring and I hate them. You know, if I'm being honest with you, even past significant others that I've had and stuff like that, I always I try to be a part of their interests. Like my previous relationship, she enjoyed reading books. You know what I mean? She did. She loved reading books. And so a lot of times what I would do is I would find books that I would think she was interested in and I would buy them on audiobook. And when we would drive places, I would turn an audiobook on. And it would always make her so fucking happy because, you know, and she would always want to go somewhere so we can listen to an audiobook. And then I was just like, babe, we can just lay in the bed and just, you know, put it on your tablet and we can just listen to the book. You know what I mean? And I would just be listening to the book and I would just be on my phone doing whatever, or I'd be playing my game and, you know, we're listening to the book together. It was one of those things where it's just like, be a part of what they like, even if you don't like it. You know what I mean? Because it makes their day. It makes them feel like, oh my God, you know? And it's such a small thing. And you don't even have to be paying attention to it like this guy. He put the Hallmark movie on for her and he was just playing his game. And he would still, you know, obviously be into the movie that she's watching, but he's doing his own thing. Same thing with me. We would throw that audiobook on and she would be so happy and giddy to, you know, for us to listen to the book together. And then, you know, we would just simply do that. And I would just be playing my game, doing my thing. Or she would, you know, be watching a movie that she likes or whatever. And I would just be playing my game, doing my thing. But it's just like you're spending time together, but you're doing your own thing, you know. And I think that's just amazing. I love that shit. All right, last one. What's the biggest secret that you've been hiding from your partner? On occasion, I send Instacart groceries to local people asking for food. I know what it is to be hungry. My husband never has. I do not think he would understand. Not that he is against helping, but might get upset with me sending groceries and spending $80 to $100 just for basics for someone to get by till their next paycheck. Oh, man, that's very sweet. And I get it. I do get it, where it's just like your husband be looking at it like, yo, what are you doing? You know what I mean? We're barely getting by. So how the heck do you feel like you could do that? But I mean, I've always said, like, you know, being nice, it's something that it costs you nothing to do. You know what I mean? And obviously in her case, yeah, it does cost. But I mean, just being a nice person in general, it's just like, why not? You know what I mean? And try to understand her side and stuff. I think if she did tell him, he'd probably understand to some degree and be like, well, okay. I mean, maybe not spend $80 to $100, you know, maybe spend like 50, 60, but, you know, that's a compromise you guys will have to make. You know what I mean? I just wonder how he doesn't know. Like, does he not know how much money you're actually spending? Or, you know what I mean? Like, wait a minute, you bought this amount of groceries, but we ain't got that in the pantry. I don't know. I don't know. But that's going to go ahead and be the end of that thread, man. I hope you guys enjoyed the thread. That was actually a very, very wholesome thread. I hope you guys enjoyed the wholesome thread. Except for the one drama one in there, you know, with the dude and his kid's probably not his, but you know what I mean? Other than that, it was a wholesome thread. If you have a secret that you've been hiding from your partner and you want to share it down in the comments, please do. I love reading the comments and checking them out. I'm going to go ahead and hop through announcements, get through that super fast, and then we're going to go ahead and get into our book. Patreon.com/MyTheAsshole Podcast. Get an exclusive episode every single Friday, as well as being able to send in your scenarios to be featured on the Tuesday and Sunday shows. All right. Get on that Patreon, man. We have a year's worth of content over there waiting for you guys. And we also have our free Patreon Day episodes as well. So go ahead and check those out when you get the opportunity. And I also have the links for those free Patreon Day episodes in the description, whether you're on Spotify or you're on YouTube. So I have those links for you. But let's see. If you're an audio listener, go ahead and download the podcast as well as rating it 5 stars if you haven't already. That helps out the show a lot. And guess what? It's for free. If you want to help out even more on the free 99 side of things, go ahead and follow us on YouTube, TikTok, as well as Instagram. Helps out a lot. Helps support the show. I appreciate you so much for all the support. You guys have been awesome with that, man. Over this past year, it's been amazing, the amount of support and the amount of interaction I've gotten with this show, and I do appreciate that, and I just want to keep it going for years to come, man. I love doing this show. I love filming it for you guys, interacting, seeing you guys' comments, all that good stuff. It's so much fun, and I love it, and I want to keep being able to do it for you guys, and we do more, and I want to add to the show and stuff like that. And you know what I mean? I love taking you guys' suggestions, because even like the book thing was a fan's suggestion. They were just like, oh, why don't you, like add a segment in there where, we're reading a book or we're doing something like that. And I was just like, and I just thought about that. And like I said, a lot of the things I've implemented into the show are fan suggestions. And so if you have a suggestion that you want to maybe be implemented, let me know. But without further ado, let's get into A Court of Thorns and Roses, chapters 29 and 30. Excited to see what's going on in our girl Feyre's life with her crazy love life and all this craziness going on. But we're going to go ahead and see what's going on with our girl. Chapter 29.
Chapter 29. Inventing about my time with Aunt Ripley required minimal effort. I read to her daily. She instructed me on deportment from her bedside, and I nursed her until she died in her sleep 2 weeks ago, leaving her fortune to me. And what a tremendous fortune it was! The trunks that accompanied me hadn't contained just clothing. Several of them had been filled with gold and jewels. Not cut jewels either, but enormous raw jewels that would pay for 1,000 estates. My father was currently taking inventory of those jewels. He'd holed himself up in his office that overlooked the garden in which I was sitting beside Elaine in the grass. Through the window, I spied my father hunched over his desk, a little scale before him as he weighed an uncut ruby the size of a duck's egg. He was clear-eyed again, and moved with a sense of purpose, of vibrancy that I hadn't seen since before the downfall. Even his limp was improved, made miraculously better by some tonic and a salve a strange passing healer had given him for free. I would have been forever grateful to Tamlin for that kindness alone. Gone were his hunched shoulders and downcast, misty eyes. My father smiled freely, laughed readily, and doted on Elaine, who in turn doted on him. Nesta, though, had been quiet and watchful, only giving Elaine answers not longer than a word or two. "These bulbs," Elaine said, pointing with a gloved hand to a cluster of purple and white flowers, "came all the way from the tulip fields of the continent. Father promised that next spring he'll take me to see them. He claims that for mile after mile there's nothing but these flowers." She patted the rich, dark soil. The little garden beneath the window was hers. Every bloom and shrub had been picked and planted by her hand. She would allow no one else to care for it. Even the weeding and watering she did on her own. Though the servants did help her carry over the heavy watering cans, she admitted. She would have marveled, likely wept at the gardens I'd become so accustomed to, at the flowers in perpetual bloom at the spring court. "You should come with me," Elaine went on. "Nesta won't go because she says she doesn't want to risk the sea crossing, but you and I? Oh, we'd have fun, wouldn't we?" I glanced sidelong at her. My sister was beaming, content. Prettier than I'd ever seen her, even in her simple muslin gardening dress. Her cheeks were flushed beneath her large floppy hat. I think I'd like to see the continent," I said. And it was true, I realized. There was so much of the world that I hadn't seen, hadn't ever thought about visiting, hadn't ever been able to dream of visiting. "I'm surprised you're so eager to go next spring," I said. "Isn't that right in the middle of the season?" The socialite season, which had ended a few weeks ago, apparently full of parties and balls and luncheons and gossip, gossip, gossip. Elaine had told me all about it at dinner the night before, hardly noticing that it was an effort for me to get down my food. So much of it was the same. The meat, the bread, the vegetables, and yet it was ash in my mouth compared to what I'd consumed in Prithian. "And I'm surprised you don't have a line of suitors out the door, begging for your hand." Elaine flushed, but plunged her little shovel into the ground to dig out a weed. "Yes, well, there will always be other seasons. Nesta won't tell you, but this season was somewhat strange." "In what way?" She shrugged her slim shoulders. "People acted as if we'd all just been ill for 8 years or had gone away to some distant country. Not that we'd been a few villages over in that cottage. You'd think we'd dreamed it all up, what happened to us over those years. No one said a word about it." "Did you think they would?" "If I were as rich as this house suggested, there were surely plenty of families willing to overlook the stain of our poverty." "No, but it made me wish for those years again, even with the hunger and cold. This house feels so big sometimes, and Father is always busy, and Nesta." She looked over her shoulder to where my eldest sister stood by a gnarled mulberry tree, looking out over the flat expanse of our lands. She'd barely spoken to me the night before, and not at all during breakfast. I'd been surprised when she joined us outside, even if she'd stayed by the tree this whole time. "Nesta didn't finish the season. She wouldn't tell me why. She began refusing every invitation. She hardly talks to anyone, and I feel wretched when my friends pay a visit, because she makes them so uncomfortable when she stares at them in that way of hers." Elaine sighed. "Maybe you could talk to her." I contemplated telling Elaine that Nesta and I hadn't had a civil conversation in years, but then Elaine added, "She went to see you, you know." I blinked, my blood going a bit cold. "What?" "Well, she was gone for only about a week, and she said that her carriage broke down not halfway there and it was easier to come back. But you wouldn't know since you never got any of our letters." I looked over at Nesta, standing so still under the branches, the summer breeze rustling the skirts of her dress. Had she gone to see me, only to be turned back by whatever glamour magic Tamlin had cast on her? I turned back to the garden and caught Elaine staring at me. "What?" Elaine shook her head and went back to weeding. "You just look so different. You sound so different, too." Indeed, I hadn't quite believed my eyes when I'd passed a hall mirror last night. My face was still the same, but there was a glow about me, a kind of shimmering light that was nearly undetectable. I knew without a doubt that it was because of my time in Prithian, that all that magic had somehow rubbed off on me. I dreaded the day it would forever fade. "Did something happen at Aunt Ripley's house?" Elaine asked. "Did you meet someone?" I shrugged and yanked at a weed nearby. "Just good food and rest." Days passed. The shadow within me didn't lighten, and even the thought of painting was abhorrent. Instead, I spent most of my time with Elaine in her little garden. I was content to listen to her talk about every bud and bloom, about her plans to start another garden by the greenhouse, perhaps a vegetable garden, if she could learn enough about it over the next few months. She had come alive here, and her joy was infectious. There wasn't a servant or gardener who didn't smile at her, and even the brusque head cook found excuses to bring her plates of cookies and tarts at various points in the day. I marveled at it, actually, that those years of poverty hadn't stripped away that light from Elaine. Perhaps buried it a bit, but she was generous, loving, and kind. A woman I found myself proud to know, to call sister. My father finished counting my jewels and gold. I was an extraordinarily wealthy woman. I invested a small percentage of it in his business, and when I looked at the remaining behemoth sum, I had him draw me up several bags of money and set out. The manor was only 3 miles from our run-down cottage, and the road was familiar. I didn't mind when my hem became coated in mud from the sodden path. I savored hearing the wind in the trees and the sighing of the high grasses. If I drifted far enough into my memories, I could imagine myself walking alongside Tamlin through his woods. I had no reason to believe that I would see him any time soon, but I went to bed each night praying that I'd awaken to find myself in his manor, or that I'd receive a message summoning me to his side. Even worse than my disappointment that no such thing had happened was the creeping, nagging fear that he was in danger, that Amarantha, whoever she was, would somehow hurt him. "I love you." I could almost hear the words, almost hear him saying them, could almost see the sunlight glinting in his golden hair and the dazzling green of his eyes. I could almost feel his body pressed against mine, his fingers playing along my skin. I reached a bend in the road that I could have navigated in the dark, and there it was. So small. The cottage had been so small. Elaine's old flower garden was a wild tangle of weeds and blooms, and the ward markings were still etched on the stone threshold. The front door, shattered and broken the last time I'd seen it, had been replaced, but one of the circular window panes had become cracked. The interior was dark, the land undisturbed. I traced the invisible path I'd taken across the tall grass every morning from our front door, over the road, and then across the rolling field, all the way to that line of trees. The forest. My forest. It had seemed so terrifying once, so lethal and hungry and brutal, and now it just seemed plain, ordinary. I gazed again at that sad, dark house, a place that had been a prison. Elaine had said she missed it, and I wondered what she saw when she looked at the cottage. If she beheld not a prison, but a shelter from a world that had possessed so little good, but she tried to find it anyway, even if it had seemed foolish and useless to me. She had looked at that cottage with hope. I had looked at it with nothing but hatred, and I knew which one of us had been stronger. Chapter 30. I had one task left to do before I returned to my father's manor. The villagers who had once sneered at or ignored me instead gaped now, and a few stepped into my path to ask about my aunt, my fortune, on and on. I firmly but politely refused to fall into conversation with them, to give them anything to gossip over. But it still took me so long to reach the poor part of our village that I was fully drained by the time I knocked on the first dilapidated door. The impoverished of our village didn't ask questions when I handed them the little bags of silver and gold. They tried to refuse, some of them not even recognizing me, but I left the money anyway. It was the least I could do. As I walked back to my father's manor, I passed Thomas Mandray and his cronies lurking by the village fountain, chatting about some house that had burned down with its family trapped inside a week before, and whether there was anything to loot from it. He gave me a too long look, his eyes roving freely over my body, with a half-smile I'd seen him give to the village girls 100 times before. Why had Nesta changed her mind? I just stared him down and continued along. I was almost out of town when a woman's laugh flitted over the stones, and I turned a corner to come face to face with Isaac Hale, and a pretty, plump young woman who could only be his new wife. They were arm in arm, both smiling, both lit up from within. His smile faltered as he beheld me. Human. He seemed so human with his gangly limbs, his simple handsomeness. But that smile he'd had moments before had transformed him into something more. His wife looked between us, perhaps a bit nervously, as if whatever she felt for him, the love I'd already seen shining, was so new, so unexpected that she was still worried it would vanish. Carefully, Isaac inclined his head to me in greeting. He'd been a boy when I left, and yet this person who now approached me, whatever had blossomed with his wife, whatever was between them, it had made him into a man. Nothing. There was nothing in my chest, my soul for him, beyond a vague sense of gratitude. A few more steps had us passing each other. I smiled broadly at him, at them both, and bowed my head, wishing them well with my entire heart. The ball my father was throwing in my honor was in 2 days, and the house was already a flurry of activity. Such money being thrown away on things we'd never dreamed of having again, even for a moment. I would have begged him not to host it, but Elaine had taken charge of planning and finding me a last-minute dress, and it would only be for an evening of enduring the people who had shunned us and let us starve for years. The sun was near to setting as I stopped my work for the day, digging out a new square of earth for Elaine's next garden. The gardeners had been slightly horrified that another one of us had taken up the activity, as if we'd soon be doing all their work ourselves and would get rid of them. I reassured them I had no green thumb and just wanted something to do with my day. But I hadn't yet figured out what I would be doing with my week, or my month, or anything after that. If there was indeed a surge in the blight happening over the wall, if that Amarantha woman was sending out creatures to take advantage of it, it was hard not to dwell on that shadow in my heart, the shadow that trailed my every step. I hadn't felt like painting since I'd arrived, and that place inside me where all those colors and shapes and lights had come from had become still and quiet and dull. Soon, I told myself, soon I would purchase some paints and start again. I slid the shovel into the ground and set my foot atop it, resting for a moment. Perhaps the gardeners had just been horrified by the tunic and pants I'd scrounged up. One of them had even gone running to fetch me one of those big floppy hats that Elaine wore. I wore it for their sake. My skin had already become tan and freckled from the months roaming the spring courtlands. I glanced at my hands, clutching the top of the shovel. Calloused and flecked with scars, arcs of dirt under my nails. They'd surely be horrified when they beheld me splattered with paint. Even if you washed them, there'd be no hiding it, Nesta said behind me, coming over from that tree she liked to sit by. To fit in, you'd have to wear gloves and never take them off. She wore a simple, pale lavender muslin gown, her hair half up and billowing behind her in a sheet of gold brown. Beautiful, imperious, still as one of the high fae. Maybe I don't want to fit in with your social circles, I said, turning back to the shovel. Then why are you bothering to stay here? A sharp, cold question. I plunged the shovel deeper, my arms and back straining as I heaved up a pile of dark soil and grass. It's my home, isn't it? No, it's not, she said flatly. I slammed the shovel back into the earth. I think your home is somewhere very far away. I paused. I left the shovel in the ground and slowly turned to face her. Aunt Ripley's house. There is no Aunt Ripley. Nesta reached into her pocket and tossed something onto the churned-up earth. It was a chunk of wood, as if it had been ripped from something. Painted on its smooth surface was a pretty tangle of vines and foxglove. Foxglove painted in the wrong shade of blue. My breath hitched. All this time, all these months. Your beast's little trick didn't work on me, she said with quiet steel. Apparently, an iron will is all it takes to keep a glamour from digging in. So I had to watch as Father and Elaine went from sobbing hysterics into nothing. I had to listen to them talk about how lucky it was for you to be taken to some made-up aunt's house, how some winter wind had shattered our door. And I thought I'd gone mad. But every time I did, I would look at that painted part of the table, then at the claw marks farther down, and I knew it wasn't in my head. I'd never heard of a glamour not working, but Nesta's mind was so entirely her own. She had put up such strong walls of steel and iron and ash wood that even a High Lord's magic couldn't pierce them. Elaine said you went to visit me, though, that you tried. Nesta snorted, her face grave and full of that long simmering anger that she could never master. He stole you away into the night, claiming some nonsense about the treaty. And then everything went on as if it had never happened. It wasn't right. None of it was right. My hands slackened at my sides. You went after me, I said. You went after me to Prythian. I got to the wall. I couldn't find a way through. I raised a shaking hand to my throat. You trekked 2 days there and 2 days back, through the winter woods? She shrugged, looking at the sliver she'd pried from the table. I hired that mercenary from town to bring me a week after you were taken, with the money from your pelt. She was the only one who seemed like she would believe me. You did that? For me? Nesta's eyes, my eyes, our mother's eyes, met mine. It wasn't right, she said again. Tamlin had been wrong when we'd discussed whether my father would have ever come after me. He didn't possess the courage, the anger. If anything, he would have hired someone to do it for him. But Nesta had gone with that mercenary. My hateful, cold sister had been willing to brave Prythian to rescue me. What happened to Thomas Mandray? I asked, the words strangled. I realized he wouldn't have gone with me to save you from Prythian. And for her, with that raging, unrelenting heart, it would have been a line in the sand. I looked at my sister, really looked at her, at this woman who couldn't stomach the sycophants who now surrounded her, who had never spent a day in the forest but had gone into wolf territory, who had shrouded the loss of our mother, then our downfall, in icy rage and bitterness, because the anger had been a lifeline, the cruelty a release. But she had cared. Beneath it, she had cared, and perhaps loved more fiercely than I could comprehend, more deeply and loyally. Thomas never deserved you anyway, I said softly. My sister didn't smile, but a light shone in her blue-gray eyes. Tell me everything that happened, she said. An order, not a request. So I did. And when I finished my story, Nesta merely stared at me for a long while before asking me to teach her how to paint. Teaching Nesta to paint was about as pleasant as I had expected it to be, but at least it provided an excuse for us to avoid the busier parts of the house, which became more and more chaotic as my ball drew near. Supplies were easy enough to come by, but explaining how I painted, convincing Nesta to express what was in her mind, her heart. At the very least, she repeated my brushstrokes with a precise and solid hand. When we emerged from the quiet room we'd commandeered, both of us splattered in paint and smeared with charcoal, the chateau was finishing up its preparations. Colored glass lanterns lined the long drive, and inside, wreaths and garlands of every flower and color decorated every rail, every surface, every archway. Beautiful. Elaine had selected each flower herself and instructed the staff where to put them. Nesta and I slipped up the stairs, but as we reached the landing, my father and Elaine appeared below, arm in arm. Nesta's face tightened. My father murmured his praises to Elaine, who beamed at him and rested her head on his shoulder. And I was happy for them, for the comfort and ease of their lifestyle, for the contentment on both my father's and my sister's faces. Yes, they had their small sorrows, but both of them seemed so relaxed. Nesta walked down the hall, and I followed her. "There are days," Nesta said as she paused in front of the door to her room across from mine, "when I want to ask him if he remembers the years he almost let us starve to death." "You spent every copper I could get, too," I reminded her. "I knew you could always get more. And if you couldn't, then I wanted to see if he would ever try to do it himself, instead of carving those bits of wood. If he would actually go out and fight for us. I couldn't take care of us, not the way you did. I hated you for that. But I hated him more. I still do." "Does he know?" "He's always known I hate him, even before we became poor. He let Mother die. He had a fleet of ships at his disposal to sail across the world for a cure, or he could have hired men to go into Prithian and beg them for help. But he let her waste away." "He loved her. He grieved for her." I didn't know what the truth was. Perhaps both. "He let her die. You would have gone to the ends of the earth to save your high lord." My chest hollowed out again, but I merely said, "Yes, I would have," and slipped inside my room to get ready.
All right. And that was chapters 29 and 30. My goodness. Goodness gracious. Well, that's going to go ahead and be today's episode. Thank you guys so much for listening and watching. Appreciate you all. Again, patreon.com/my The Asshole Podcast. As get that exclusive episode every single Friday, as well as being able to send in your snares, be featured on the Tuesday and Sunday shows. Download and rate us 5 stars if you haven't already. Follow us on TikTok, YouTube, as well as Instagram. I love you guys all. I will see you on Friday if you're on Patreon. I'll see you on Friday. And then Tuesday if you want the free 99 side of things. But I love you guys so much. I'll see you all later. Peace.